not be.
And while David is flailing, trying to find a picture to share with everybody,
I can't do it.
Probably fall flat in the end. We are here with Alita. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And Nate, where's your intro, Nate? First unmute.
We're having all kinds of tech problems today.
Got that whole mute button problem.
Okay, I'm.
He's trying to unmute.
I tried to unmute you. Oh, so
now
I'll
he's
just kick
good.
him
He's
out of the
gone.
stream. Okay, well, we didn't want him anyway.
Good evening.
Now we're back to the proper wardrobe. He's just gonna go change his shirt, right? So he's wearing all black.
Exactly. Nate didn't get the memo.
Okay, boom. There we go.
There you go.
Hear me?
I can hear you, Nate, and I think everyone wants to hear you. Come on in.
Oh, MAGA country. Yes. I'm very happy with that.
David, the neurotic picture looker upper. How are you?
I have designed. We have a new merch concept, and I've been concerned that it might elicit certain critique from the the world in which we live. So I might share it with you privately because it
All right.
the wild world in which we live.
All right, you can always text it to me and I can find my way up there.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, so folks, I have a day job, so I am so out of touch. What the hell is going on? I think there's a trial that finished about a guy who cut up his parents or something. What's going on there?
There are multiple trials going on right now. So there was Halderson, which is the chopper upper.
He loved his parents to pieces.
Starting early.
Low blow.
I love it,
but also true. But so there was that one, and then there's Edgecombe, which is the one that's full of the drama, the legal drama outside of the courtroom, having to do with Nick Rekieta and Law and Crime Network.
Yeah, that's the good one. That's the
that's the drama behind the drama.
Oddly enough, the case about the guy chopping up and potentially eating his own parents is not the one that is the spicier, juicier story somehow.
Well, they picked a fight with Nate. And by the way, I got to put it out, I forgot. This one I started on both the Eric Hunley channel, the Layback News channel, and officially Rumble. So nice. I am on Rumble with all three channels at this point, but I will be killing the stream on the Eric Hunley channel at approximately 15 minutes in or so. I'm not really sure. I do the best I can. And everyone, please, there's a pinned comment in the chat. Please follow that and come over if you will, or go to Rumble and you can watch it there. Both streams on Layback News and Rumble will be playing the whole way. I'm only putting it out to Eric Hunley. I'll be doing that for, about a month just to hopefully bring some people over, because not everybody knows.
The link that you used in your tweet earlier with the awesome thumbnail, that's the good one. The one that'll go the whole time. Okay.
Yes, my highly artistic thumbnail where you can see people's collars, and I make choices about thumbnails. It's like, okay, either I'm going to try to be super professional or super ridiculous. Yeah. And I think I'm better at the latter. So I went for the latter full in. And thank you, Dragon's Treasure. As a matter of fact, Dragon's Treasure has a contest going, and that's between me and LegalBytes. Supposedly, we're supposed to find out who's going to buy more tea.
So who's going to sell more tea?
Well, buy, sell, whatever. You never know. Maybe I'll buy my own tea to beat you just because I'm a hack. But if you go to thedragonstreasure.com/unstructured, we get a little bit of a kickback. And whoever, I guess, sells more gets a little bit more of a kickback to help the channel out. So.
And I don't know what I think he asked me what I preferred to have for my discount code. I don't know if I actually responded yet, but that would probably be LegalBytes. All one word.
I can't pull them up, Frank. Oh, I'm
For
sorry,
Treasure-
David.
For Treasure Sea, I would like an exclusive idea. It would be energy yerba carbonated tea drink, whatever those things are. Because I think now I've moved off of Red Bull and into those yerba carbonated tea-like drinks. They're delicious, low calorie. And if Treasure Sea had one, and we had one with the Viva Frei brand on it, we can talk business.
Okay. By the way, I messed up. It's not /unstructured. It's just go to thedragonstreasure.com. The coupon code is unstructured. I got corrected in the chat. Nice job right there. Obviously, I'm super good at peddling products. I'll get better. I need to consult Joe and Nick on how to grift because I definitely am lacking.
Okay.
Kurt, how you doing?
I'm having a very decent day. I recently had to fight a channel strike. I was banned from live streaming, and it was going to prevent me from live streaming tonight. But fortunately, I was able to successfully appeal my strike. So it was for episode number 19 of my Capitol Riot series. I still have a channel warning from episode number 29 of my Capitol Riot series because both have been flagged for me inciting, encouraging, or promoting rioting or violence. I'm not quite sure how me reviewing official FBI documents of here are the people, here are the things they did, watch as they did the things, here's what they're being charged with, is encouraging or inciting or promoting, but I don't know. Whatever.
It would seem that your analysis would actually be, if anything, helping to deter this kind of activity.
Yeah.
Look at
what evidence.
The consequences.
What evidence do we have against these people? Here's a photo of them smiling inside the rotunda. Here's a photo of them holding up the thing. Here's a copy of their Facebook post.
Well, you never know.
Here's a statement they made to the media. I'm like, well, this looks pretty good to me.
Maybe you did one on Roy Epps. Is that the problem? Or Ray Epps, whichever. I can't remember.
I have not done one on Ray Epps because he hasn't been charged, so he doesn't have an FBI complaint for me to review now, does he?
Okay. Maybe you got another Fed and they got confused. I have no idea.
Well, it's like I watched one of Kurt's, and when every time he said like "don't do this," and he was like winking his eye, and he said like they were up to very bad things. It's not an insurrection. Okay, I'm joking, but
they have problems with the jokes because on number 19 we had the person. The FBI says like they were showing people around, or there was some verbiage like this. So I just make a riff on it. Oh, like they're on a tour. They're a docent. You know, here's the statue hall. We're walking. Here's the door we'll be busting down later. We're walking. I don't know. They don't like the humor.
No, but this is the fundamental problem of terms of service that can be just misapplied or misinterpreted to weaponize jokes when they don't like the jokes and pretend they're serious, and forgive the jokes when it's, what's her face holding Kathy Griffin.
Kathy Griffin
holding Herod was
Kathy Griffin doing stuff.
Stuff.
But she got canceled.
Holding up some pretty gruesome
Didn't she
stuff.
get canceled? She got canceled.
She did.
She didn't get booted from Twitter for that.
No, she got booted from CNN.
She lost like all her jobs and all that stuff. Yeah,
true, but she did not get deplatformed, or she did not get suspended from Twitter, which was interesting.
Yeah, but it's maybe she should get the full wrath, but it's not this. She did suffer some real consequences though. Rightfully so.
Question.
No, I disagree. You know what? I don't like canceling going either direction. I think we have a habit of saying canceling is terrible on one side, and then the other side, they rightly deserve that. It's like, stop it.
Threatening to assassinate they're threatening to assassinate the president.
That wasn't a threat. That was a threat. That was a result.
There's levels to the game, right? Yeah, but there's levels to the game, though, right? I understand certain things, but I don't know.
I will say that when it's that viscerally gruesome, the depiction, it gets to be a little bit more than just like words in a tweet. I don't know. I mean, words in a tweet can also be equally bad because those can also call for directly for violence. So I don't know. She's definitely, I would say, at the very least, in a gray area there.
It was
as far as consequences as you can
get. And if it was anybody else, obviously it would be, oh my God. But I'm just trying to be honest about things.
If there were any other former president, it would have been a hate crime. But just so we're clear in the chat,
Game of Thrones had Bush's head. I don't know if you remember that. Game of Thrones had Bush's head up on the wall, and they removed the episode and stopped selling the DVDs for a minute and had to cut them out. I'm not kidding.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I
Well,
missed
and
that
just so
one.
everybody's clear, it was not a question that she didn't suffer consequences. It was only talking about terms of service of social media platforms and how they can use their terms to strike Uncivil for covering the Jan 6 insurrection.
And as long as I have that warning sitting on my channel, I appealed the warning and I was denied for the same
Yeah,
grounds. So
Is
as
there a
long as
way
I
you
have that
can-
warning sitting on my channel, anytime anything happens, it's a strike against me posting
1
new
week.
stuff. It's a strike against me running streams.
We
I
tried
don't-
to
Is there any way
retweet it and
to
get the
appeal it
warning.
again? To try
Yeah,
again?
I would keep hammering at it and to try to get others to retweet. I know I retweeted when he did that and was trying to get it out there. I don't think it got as much momentum.
It did not get traction, no, when I
Well,
tried
forget the
to.
traction, Eric. Kurt, did you live chat and ask for it to be escalated and have like a real interaction with the chatbots?
I did try to do that, and
Well,
apparently they got reviewed by legal, which I have a very hard time believing, to
Did
be
Team
quite
YouTube
honest.
did Team
Yeah.
YouTube reply on Twitter?
No, they did not.
Okay, well then you got to hammer them. That's the only one I
Yeah.
know of that can take it out. We've done it with Nate and others. So hammer
Yeah,
Team.
my-
Well, I'll
YouTube.
write another one right now when we can promote it right
But
now.
speaking
Also,
of
DM them too. DM them too, because you can DM them. Team YouTube.
Speaking of strikes, what the heck happened with Law and Crime sending a cease and desist to
They're
Ortega?
waiting on a response, and of course, Nick provided a colorful reply on a show, which I was counting on. I was hoping he would do a dramatic reading, but he let me down. So he just did a straight reading, and I think that his ultimate short response, as he put it, was "F off,"
Yes.
and then his lawyer will be writing out the more fleshed out version for them.
Yeah, essentially they're trying to copyright a public trial, which is like a no-go in any like rational, like there's no, it's like them trying to copyright the coverage of the OJ trial. A matter of public concern, like you got everything, right? All fair use ring things, bells are ringing here. It's like, why would you even send us season desist?
There's also this also potentially fits into the government edicts doctrine, like any kind of court opinions that are written by a judge are not copyrightable because it's essentially the judge is just performing in their role to analyze and rule on the law. So that's not copyrightable. The ways that LexisNexis and Westlaw can have any form of copyright in the material that's on their websites is in like the head notes above and below any sort of opinions that are published.
I didn't see Rekida's 1.5 hour F off video, but the letter, the notice itself, or the cease and desist. I mean, did we see it? What was the basis? Did they say you're restreaming our stream, therefore it's a copyright violation?
Yeah, they're trying to claim that copyright on it, and really, I think it all stems out of their salty that Nick's channel exploded, and he had all of that, fame during Rittenhouse. I think they're just so pissed off. They're like, wait a minute, you were using our stream. You wouldn't have anything without our stream. It's like, there's also PBS, you jerks. Well, Fox.
But two subsidiary questions, because is the argument that in restreaming their stream, he restreamed their logo on the bottom right? Which
no, they're not. No. They didn't complain about it. They're saying that it's their material product and that he was using it in its entirety, which is technically true, but he was transforming it in its entirety. It's like what I went through, David. Only Nick's got a lot more, pull behind
he's got
him.
better arguments, but then the question I would have, because I don't know how Law and Crime gets their stream in the first place. So are they themselves tapping into a public domain stream?
What happens?
Yes, they are. Supposedly they share a camera for all the different. That's why it's the same view, no matter which one you click to.
Yeah. Okay.
The technical aspect is that they're making it seem to be two arguments. The first argument is that Nick is some of their streams are exclusive to them. So supposedly this Edgecombe one is exclusive to them. So they're saying we're the only ones allowed to restream this by judge's order. They've been doing judge's order there. And they're saying by Nick restreaming their stream that they're infringing on, that he's infringing on their copyright. Essentially, it's like watching a movie all the way through. Like say if we pull up the newest Spider-Man movie and watch it all the way through and stop at the mid commentary. That's not going to save us from a copyright claim, right? Because you're streaming the whole movie, even if we're doing commentary. So that's their first argument, but Nick's counter.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that is true.
No, Mystery Science Theater, the classic, they licensed the videos. They didn't have the permission. They didn't do that based on transformative fair use. They got permission. So I mean, that's the best example. Most comparative.
So Nick is making two. So Nick's response is twofold. Number one, these are public. This is all stuff in the public domain. These are court proceedings. This, and some of the court proceedings that they've pointed to were not just streamed by them. Were streamed by everybody. So you don't have any. So they're not the owners of the original work. They're actually just using the stuff. And for the ones that are, it's not copyrightable. And on top of that, it is fair use because he is doing all of this commentary on top of it. So
right.
those are his two arguments in response to it.
Well, and an important part of the analysis that makes it very different from Mystery Science Theater is the fact that the underlying work is entirely factual. There's nothing creative involved in it. Whereas in Mystery Science Theater, you have these films that are obviously works of creation. They're people have dreamed up these scripts and everything else. And there's a lot of creativity that has gone into these movies. But here we're talking about a trial that's in real life. There's absolutely no creativity involved. They're not even giving any commentary. There's nothing. It's just straight facts. So the likelihood that any kind of commentary on top of this kind of footage is going to be considered fair use is very high, in my opinion.
Hey, by the way, for Kurt, let's help Kurt out, if you will. I just retweeted his tweet. You can go to my Twitter. You can go to his Twitter. It's Uncivil Law. Please follow us while you're there, if you don't mind. But retweet the last retweet I had or his original tweet, because it helps immensely to just make the noise. That gets Team YouTube to feel a little bit of shame. Shame seems to be the only thing that seems to work. And this, hopefully we can get that warning removed from it. We've done it before. Nate can confirm. I've done it with him. We've done it with Allison Morrow twice. Or 3 times. Matt Orfala twice.
Yeah, we did Matt Orfala.
I mean, you would think YouTube would love me because I'm someone who self-identifies as being on the right, self-identifies as being conservative, self-identifies as being Republican, and yet I've done 58 of these things, mocking the ever-loving crap out of these people who have gone to the Capitol and committed a riot. They went in and they destroyed property, they trespassed, they disrupted not only a lawful process, but a constitutionally mandated process. And I'm sitting over here saying, yeah, I actually believe in law and order like the right says we do. And these people too. How about we prosecute them? And going through their cases and saying, well, what is the case against them? And then the FBI thoughtfully includes these wonderful little documents. Here are the photos. Here are the news reports. Here's where they gave their interviews to the news and said, yes, it was me. I did the thing. Here is the photo of me doing the thing. Would you like to see the slideshow, FBI? Personal favorite one might still be the one where the guy emailed the FBI saying, I can't send you the video because it's too big for email. But I put it in this Google Drop folder. I hope this helps you, nice FBI lady. And that might be one of my favorites. Or maybe my favorite is the guy who was already on probation parole. So we know his every movement because of the tracking bracelet on his ankle. These are just some of the stories that have been exposed on the Capitol Riot series. It's been a fun series, and they deserve to be ridiculed. This, of course, does not mean that I don't believe that other people who committed other riots don't also deserve to be prosecuted. It's not an exclusive proposition. Prosecute them all is what I say. How about that? That's good.
Okay, well, really quick, one more thing of housekeeping or whatever. It's already over 15 minutes past. I'm going to be killing the stream on the Eric Hunley channel. I'm trying to do it better this time because last time I think I lost a ton of people. So I just posted the link again in the chat. It should be one of the last ones. Please click, come on over. You can also look in the description. There's a link to the Rumble feed, and I'd love it if you check it out there. I mean, we don't always have to give YouTube anything. I can't put Rumble rants up on the screen, but I will go over there and look to see if I have any at some point. So I'm killing the stream now, and hopefully it's clearer. As you can see, I pulled up the note there.
Okay. And now for everyone who is, do we give him 30 seconds before I drop this big question to Alita? It's just about the fair use issue. True about the underlying work not being copyright protected, which is why commentary over something that's not even copyright protected in the first place is irrelevant. It's not fair use because it doesn't even apply.
Right.
That was only
no, that's actually incorrect. There's different. I'm saying is it's copyrightable. What they have is copyrightable. I don't know if they.
That's Joe. What I'm saying is commentary over something which is not copyright protected is not fair use because it doesn't apply. The question is whether or not their underlying use is itself copyright protected. And the question that I had, which I don't know who said it was exclusive, how did they get exclusive streaming in the court?
So I don't
But
think
that
they do have
was-
exclusive streaming. That's part
yeah,
of Nick's point. That the
that was
same
Nick's
feed,
point. Yeah.
yeah, the exact same feed that Flaw and Crime is putting out there is what's being shared by Milwaukee News with respect to this case. It's the exact same, and in the Halderson case, it was shared by Channel 3000, and Channel 3000 says that our feed is like a pooled feed, or like, you know, I think, or something to that effect, that, they don't have it, that they don't have it alone. So we don't know. And as Nick points out in he points out there's three possibilities here. Either it's, in these cases, Law and Crime has it and they give a license to these other people, or it's stolen by these other people, or that's one A and B. Then you have two A and B, is that these other people are doing it and Law and Crime is stealing it, or they're getting a license. Or the third possibility is that it's a court feed, and that neither of them, and that each of them are getting it from the court. Those are the only three possibilities.
Well,
there is,
well,
but there is such a thing as a
just let me-
copyright there, and potentially.
Well, hold on. Can I update you on one of the Quartering did a video on it. Check out the Quartering. He did actually a pretty good video. Law and Crime went on Twitter to try to explain this. And what they said was that they had the judge put in an order that no one else can stream the feed. And then they said, but then they were like, well, it's on your website. You're streaming it on your website. So they were like, the judge's order says so. Then they were saying, we may get
the judge says social media, though, very, very specifically.
Yeah, social media.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's relevant.
Mm-hmm. And no, you're right, 100%. So that seems to be their wiggle room argument, is that, you know, well, we have permission from the court to do this, and you don't, right? You don't have permission to do it on social media. So that seems to be part of their.
That doesn't.
It's pretty layered, but
it doesn't confer copyright rights
might be
if the underlying footage isn't copyrightable. Just because the court gave one group an exclusive, one company an exclusive ability to get into the courtroom, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden they have a copyright if the actual footage is not copyrightable.
That would be, and not to give anybody any bad ideas, that might make it contempt if it's a rebroadcasting in violation of a court order. As I recall,
contempt under what jurisdiction, David? Are you going to pull them into there? It's a state. I mean, Nick's in another state doing this. He's in Minnesota. This is Wisconsin. He pointed that out too. He said, "Screw you. I'm not in your jurisdiction." He did literally say that.
The contempt wouldn't give any weight to legal. What's the Law and Orders, or what is it? Crime. What's the name of the stream?
Law and Crime.
Law and Crime.
It wouldn't give an extra argument to Law and Crime. Anything.
Let's invite them onto the stream. That'll be good.
Just to clarify, you have copyright and then you have court order. Those are two completely separate arguments. Just to clarify for the audience, you have copyright and then you have a court order. Those are two completely separate arguments, which seem to be somewhat glommed together based on the tweets and the letter, and that's why I think there's some confusion here. So the first question we have is this copyrightable? I think certainly is copyrightable, but there are different levels of copyright, because the fact that in theory, if I set up a camera in a courtroom and I choose this angle, and then I want to shoot the judge at this moment, and then turn back to the witness at this point, and then turn back to the defendant at that point, that is it's considered what in the industry is called a thin copyright. I'm telling you now, there definitely is such a thing, because if another camera guy might choose to focus on that person or another, it's not
have
considered.
To see you in court with that one, brother. I'd be.
No, I think I'm going to unfortunately have to defend Joe on this. I don't want to.
I think Joe has a point.
I
think Joe has a point, but I would be in court saying, speaking the other way. I'd be like, this is fair use. It's a public trial. No, you can't.
That's got nothing to do with fair use. Then if it becomes copyrighted, then the question is, once it's copyrighted, can I now take this copyrighted thing and use it for my own purposes and have fair use?
Point of nuance. So technically, the moment that
point
something
of nuance is to do Robert's rules. Carry on.
But as soon as a work is created, it technically has copyright rights. You don't necessarily get a copyright. You can register a copyright, but you don't get a copyright by doing anything other than just creating it in the first place.
No, you do get it. The second you create
something,
you have a natural copy. You have a natural copyright.
There's no act on top of it other than just creating the work.
It is true that thanks to the Supreme Court, though, a couple years ago, you can't sue until you get it registered. So there is that.
Yeah. Gorsuch.
Anyway, but yes, you do have a copyright, though. There's the poor man's copyright. I used to be in a band. An old trick was you record a CD and you mail it to yourself.
Mail it to yourself.
And that was considered a poor man's, because technically you have it. It doesn't have the teeth of a registered copyright, but you damn sure have a copyright. As soon as you create it, it is copyrighted material. Just
Well, and
by law.
the reason why people would do that was because it then establishes a certain date at which
Sure.
you know that it was created, because that was what a lot of controversy centered around in this area of law was that people were like, okay, but who made it first? I don't know. I mean, it's I had this at home, you had this at home. How does anybody know which one made it first? I mean, nowadays with things being digital and live streamed, we've got all kinds of information that's like metadata that's behind all of these things. So it's a bit easier in a lot of respects.
Right. Like this is timestamped right now. I mean, so there's
exactly.
a proof of record on third-party servers that this occurred at this date, this time, and this thing was said. So technically,
but to go to Echo's Joe point, there is this idea of a thin copyright. So and the difference there is whether or not it's a purely factual work. So the classic example is something like a phone book. A phone book is composed of just simple facts. The arrangement of those facts is copyrightable, but not the underlying facts. So you can take the facts of a phone book and reproduce them because there's no copyright protection in the underlying information because it's factual. Well, so a phone book would be an example of something that has a thin copyright. Its protection is fairly minimal because you're only going to the aesthetic.
You're wrong about that. You're wrong about that because a phone book doesn't have any display of originality because they say putting something in alphabetical order is not considered originality.
If there's anything
the phone book
above
has actually
that
come
in
up.
the phone book.
Actually, Joe, but as soon as there's ads in the phone book, though, now you have art. So we've already got a copyrighted work because you have conformed it to a specific thing. So I think that's a bad example. If it was just a printed list,
is not copyrightable.
Now hold on.
But another example would be that's similar to the phone book that Kurt is a recipe book. It's a recipe book, right? So this is why anytime you buy a recipe
your go-to Supreme Court case on point is Feist.
Yes, I remember that Supreme Court case from my copyright like 25 years ago.
Yeah, there's no copyright in the underlying factual information.
Right. Exactly. And alphabetizing it doesn't give it copyright because there's no originality in that.
I wonder if the chat is bored to death or interested. But let me just say one thing to Joe.
But what I said is like the arrangement of things. So when you have, for example, subcategories or how you're describing the businesses, or you have,
or where you tilt a camera on a factual,
or the font choices.
Well, we all agree that's
the arrangement on the page.
We agree with that, but hold on. My issue with it being a court order and therefore potentially,
and I'm agreeing with you. That's all thin copyright. I was agreeing with you in the first place. Yes, Joe, that would get you a first.
Someone mute Uncivil for a second,
which is what you said.
My issue.
No, I'm saying they're normally.
I'm never agreeing with Joe ever again.
No,
this is over.
No. Listen to me. Okay, you listen to me. There's such a thing as
all right.
There's such a thing as a thin copyright. You just happen to give a crap example of one because that's one that the Supreme Court specifically said is not a copyright. So I appreciate the support, but that happened to be a very poor example because it had to be the one case that the court said is not copyrightable. So that's why I was clarifying.
And Winston has something to say.
Come back to me. Come back to me. Come back. Come back.
Okay, so here's the deal, Joe. With the issue of contempt, whether or not it's rebroadcasting something that is not allowed to be rebroadcast because exclusive, that would not be a law and crime argument. They could be pains in the neck and try to get Rekieta in trouble with the court if it's an unlawful reproduction under a court order. So that doesn't build any copyright argument. That's just how they can make trouble for Nick if they want it to be dirty. But the copyright issue, and I agree with you. It's the the minimal effort or the substantial effort of having. Put the camera down. It was the issue about the monkey that took a picture of himself with the camera, and they were arguing over who owned the copyright to the selfie.
Oh, we got from phone books to monkeys.
I'm just going to quote from Feist now.
No. I want a squirrel, David. I want a freaking squirrel copyright.
There was the issue. People raised that argument on my video and said, I don't own the copyright because the squirrel was carrying on the camera. And the argument was, no, I placed it there. There was effort in deciding the angle, what to do. And I deliberately allowed the squirrel to get it versus the monkey that got someone's camera in a zoo, accidentally snapped a picture of himself. And then the issue was who owned it, the zoo, the camera owner, or the monkey. Or it was a gorilla. I don't remember what it was, but it was a good case.
By the way, that would be a good video breakdown, David. Seriously, about the squirrel and who owns the copyright of that video.
Yeah, maybe your squirrel owns your copyright.
That squirrel's old news now.
Oh, well, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Plus, that would be legal advice. Okay.
Of course it's Havoc. Haven't you watched this show before, Charles?
Havoc.
Oh, my God.
With respect to the court order, Nick's point is, okay, I'm not under the jurisdiction of the court, so that's not relevant to me. The court might decide to issue an order. They cannot control what I do with rebroadcasts. So since I'm not in that state, I have nothing to do with that state. It's not as if some judge from Tennessee can tell me what I'm going to do, or some judge from Wisconsin is going to tell me what I can or cannot do, because they have no authority over me. Jurisdiction is the lawyer term for power, and it's saying you have no power over me.
Interesting question. I'm going to defer to all of your expert opinions on this, but there's contempt ex facie out of the court, and I think anybody who is aware of a court order that violates it, there might be execution issues if you're held in contempt. But I think I could be in contempt of a Wisconsin court if I rebroadcast illegally in Canada.
But are you held to Wisconsin crime, to Wisconsin law, or your own state law? You are not a resident there. You're not a party there. You're not a guest there. You're not in any way there at all. Like, I'm here in Virginia, so am I held to a Wisconsin thing when I'm getting feed from Virginia? All the airwaves, all my content, all my access to it is actually here in Virginia. So do I fall under that, Judge?
I'm going to say in some cases, yes. For instance, rape shield laws, for instance. That's why in some cases when you have a victim and, you're not allowed to broadcast it, even if you're in New York, if you do broadcast that, even though it's from there, and you're violating the court, and you violate the court order. No,
I bet that's it. I bet there's a federal law that's going to give it the teeth.
Maybe there's some federal law that gives it
that.
teeth, but you can, but yes, you could be in violation of court order. And I know, and we all know, for instance, federal court trials, we can't broadcast those things because if you broadcast them, so it's federal. So I think the state issues can have some teeth with, because I know rape shield laws particularly doesn't allow you to rebroadcast the victim. So that
I would like to know specifically though, if it's actually
is it on a federal
or if there was a federal law that was overseeing it to make that happen, or if it's an agreement between the states, like we all sign on saying that we have a rape shield law and we're working together. I'm just curious about it. I'm not the lawyer, but I love Nate, the lawyer, to flesh that one out for me, because
I know it works for women against what's it called, the order protections, the Violence Against Women's Act. So for instance, if you get an order protection in California, that order protection is good everywhere based on the full faith and credit clause. So in those court orders,
that's federal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So in that instance, that's the way a court order from a state does transfer to other states. But I'm not sure if the state, I understand what you're saying. State jurisdiction wouldn't allow that. So we'll see.
I mean, for example, if you have, let's say Alec Baldwin, there was the whole issue about the warrant for his phone. They asked him for his phone. He said, get a warrant. New Mexico police said, okay, here's our warrant. And he said, no, I'm in New York. Get a warrant that's valid in New York. Yep. So, it's technically that's a.
I'm a little surprised that New York didn't just honor the warrant from New Mexico, but whatever.
They generally do.
Well, but I got to tell you something.
Full faith and credit issue.
The fact that Baldwin got a lawyer means he's guilty. I mean, that's how things work these days. So. I knew he was guilty.
But by the way, I believe behind the scenes, though, remember, he did finally turn over the phone. I think New Mexico finally just said, okay, we'll put out an arrest warrant for Alec.
Ooh.
Bring your phone with you. And because his lawyer said, like, literally that day that he may be have to be extradited the next day or something like that. So they got tired of Alec Baldwin on that. I have that very strong feeling they were saying.
And you know what? Plenty of probable cause. There's plenty of probable cause.
Yeah. And he did miraculously turn it over. I guess, though, he turned it over to the cops in New York, the cops in New York are extracting the data, not the New Mexico cops. So the New York cops are pulling whatever and giving it to New Mexico.
Well, how nice for the New York cops to help their brothers in arms.
Yeah.
Well, I think that happens all the time.
I'm sure it does.
I still want to hear about Feist from Kurt. Tell us about Feist.
Huh?
I was looking up
a lull in their earlier argument.
I was looking up this sentence from O'Connor's decision in Feist. It says, notwithstanding a valid copyright, a subsequent compiler remains free to use the facts contained in another publication to aid in preparing a competing work, so long as the competing work does not feature the same selection and arrangement. And then the alphabetical list of subscribers itself is insufficient, but the arrangement otherwise might be, which was my point, which would lead to a thin copyright, which was me agreeing with Joe, but that's over now. So whatever Joe says wrong.
It was a heated agreement is what we like to call that.
Apparently. I was right, but not precisely right enough for Joe. So I was like, okay, I'm already defecting, and I'd like to announce my new show on Law and Crime. It's on 3 p.m.
Oh God. All right. People in the chat are rebelling. They hate copyright.
Oh well, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me send you a picture, Eric, and we can share what's going on in Canada in as much as it's happening in the States as well.
Who's going to own the picture if you share it on his channel?
Actually,
since I did that monkey case, the Naruto the monkey. It's been a while since I covered that one.
I asked if I could share this picture and if I could disclose who took it, but see when Eric gets it. But hold on.
Give me a minute.
Eric, plug yourself away while we're talking about Alec Baldwin. You've got a bombshell of Robert coming up this afternoon.
I do. It should be, I think, pretty interesting for folks. Couple emails that may break the case, and I'm not kidding. It is extremely relevant emails, and some culpability is in these emails. Now, I don't know if that's what they were looking for with Baldwin or not. I'm not going to claim that, but I will say that they are not great emails. So here we go.
This is meanwhile in Canada. And I was just checking the picture to make sure that it wasn't just one.
David, this could be California, dude. This
looks massive.
It's what's amazing is that you're actually in a battle for information with politicians who are affiliated to the political parties responsible for this, and they're tweeting out lush green pastures of fruit stands, and it's like it's a crazy world where unless you actually see it with your own eyes, you cannot believe anything you see on the internet. But this comes from someone who I know, trust. And
they've had. I've seen back and forth multiple times here. Like only 2 boxes of bacon for family. Joe. Yeah, I know that doesn't include you, but you can.
No, but I get one of these. I get one of these every day. 7-Eleven has not had creamers. Like they can't get creamers. They didn't have coffee lids. The reason I have this lid on here is they don't have their normal coffee cup lid because they can't get lids. They're literally empty. There's like
literally.
Empty...
Joe, you get coffee from the 7-Eleven
every day. Every day, yes.
Have you considered a coffee maker?
Disgust is great.
Have you considered a coffee maker?
It's the most underrated coffee in the world. First of all,
compared to urine, it's sorry.
Oh my gosh,
that was mean. I'm sure the coffee.
First of all,
we don't have Tim Hortons here. Thank you very much, Mr. Canada.
You're one of those Starbucks people who like.
No, he's a Tim Hortons person, probably.
The reality is, I can't drink coffee anywhere outside of the house anymore because it all tastes like crap. I think I've gotten very angry.
Oh, God. He's a snob. Do you like fiddle it? What temperature do you brew it at, David?
You got your hoity-toity Canadian coffee.
I steam the milk with the honey in it so that the cream does not cool down the coffee.
You're putting honey in your coffee, and you're sitting here talking to me as if you're the coffee aficionado. Please.
Honey, it's not maple syrup.
The thing is, maple syrup has a distinctive flavor. Honey at least just tastes sweet. So maple coffee makes me nauseous.
Maybe the way maybe your crap honey does. Good honey has flavor.
No, but it has good flavor that's not distinctive. Although apparently from the chat, Nick Sweeney says 7-Eleven coffee is great. I've had it, by the way. I've had it. I'm not.
A lot of them have the machines that will grind it there too. They have the hopper and they'll grind it for you.
A lot of 7-Eleven coffee is Starbucks that they just buy from there, bring in.
And I can't drink Starbucks either, by the way. I find that, and I can't drink Tim Hortons either. So maybe I'm just okay. I've upset the chat.
Maybe you're just indeed, yeah.
What was the other discussion that was interesting? If anyone hadn't seen it, there's a rumor going around that viral clip out of Canada of the 2 young children spouting off COVID propaganda about what should be done to the unvaccinated. There's a rumor, and do not recirculate the rumor until it gets confirmed, that the child is an actress. I looked into it. I cannot find anything to substantiate it. And in my mind, it makes it even worse that the child is not an actor versus an actor, because a child saying this of their own volition is far worse than it being a paid actor. But
Are you referring to the clip that was like a series of kids on a stage that we're talking about calling the police? Wait. The Kamala thing, or the thing that just came out now?
In French with subtitles, a show called La Semaine de 4 Juillet with Julie Snyder asking 2 kids if they're vaccinated. Yes. Or do you support mandatory vaccination? Yes. And then this woman nodding her is like, it looks like I've been training them. And I thought that woman was the mother, but that woman is actually the teacher, which in my mind also makes it worse. And then some rumors today circulating that the little girl was an actress, but thus far,
It looks like
Well,
you've been training
I
them,
just think
says
that
the teacher.
it's highly improper and manipulative to be even using children in that role anyway. I mean, why should children be dictating our public policies anyway?
because
It doesn't make
Because they
any
know
sense.
things like
no,
Greta.
because it influences other kids. It gets other kids to think it's normal to call the cops on the unvaccinated.
I
It's
saw a
also
different one
terrible.
in German. I saw a different one in German, which had like Hitlerjugend basically saying how they want to put everyone in camps who's not vaccinated.
Well, that's also
What?
something right out of the Soviet Union. I mean, that was literally what they did. Was they would have children calling the police on their parents for disloyal
behavior.
statements.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much, guys. I managed to only on my first channel have this happen and made it almost to 40 minutes. And
Again.
well, I could do it twice.
Let's see if we
I
can
have
go
two
for red.
channels. Oh, God.
They've been good, Eric. I mean, the problem is they get to your videos slowly, apparently. But like our
no
stream
kidding.
with Gruber Wednesday night, Gruber, Barnes, you and me, was demonetized, but they remonetized it like pretty quickly within the evening. So it's
Oh, well, if I'm a big timer YouTube, maybe they'll
No,
do
but-
that
but
for me someday.
it might be your track record. I think you need to establish good credit with the social
Dude,
credit.
I have freaking. they do what the previous 20? They're all freaking green. 100%. Is that enough?
I don't know.
I
I
get
mean,
to
I-
hear
I-
myself. By the way, wear your headphones, David.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
I mean, I have the same problem as you, Eric. But at least I have noticed that it seems like the review process, for the most part, has been faster than it used to be. So I'm getting notified a bit earlier, I think, for these videos that they're actually okay.
No,
Still after
it's
most of my
gone long.
views, but
Man,
I was griping about 24 hours. Now it's 4 days.
no, for me, I have a video from
Yeah.
December that's still being reviewed.
Well, that's at
Wow.
least one that
Freaking
you've
December.
uploaded. I'm talking about these live streams. So, I mean, it's like, unless I get super chats or whatever, pretty much all the views go by and then they say, good news. We found that your video conforms. And my last 1,500 are fully monetized, or 1,000 or
Wow.
whatever it is.
That's a
Yeah,
bold
it's
choice,
Ooh.
Viva.
purple,
Whoa,
I love it.
Hold on.
Oh, what? He must have robbed his kids.
Yeah,
Which
I can't
kid
find
sounds?
check this out, by the way.
Wow, that looks great.
Yeah.
Does it come in man size?
Oh, my God. It's got your hair. Are those the Bob Ross headphones?
I don't know, but it's kind of fateful now.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this better for the echo people?
Yes,
Yes.
that's fantastic.
You look
Thank
and you look great. You look
Fantastic.
great.
He
Yeah,
looks like a tennis star.
they're the dollar store version of Dre Beats.
Oh, look at this.
They're not.
We're-
They're
See, the
dollar
problem
store.
the problem with those style earphones is when I wear the hat, I can't wear those earphones because of the band. So that way I just have the Bluetooth ones.
Okay, good. And I am able to check in on memes on locals on structure.locals.com. We've got a little bit of
my.
Olympics coming up here. David is growing out his hair for 2028.
Nice.
I'll try to remember to keep checking my locals feed, but occasionally the memes start to come in over there. It's always worth checking out. And by the way, I'm almost to professional level on locals. Literally, I think
Nice.
I'm within 4 or 5 from
Ooh.
getting a full 90-minute live stream. So anybody who wants to support or pay or pull that trigger.
Yeah, 90
Get-
minutes
get-
is not enough for me, man. Jesus, like I need a couple hours. That's
Well, Nate and I do a show on
How many
Sunday.
do
It
you
would be
need- how
nice
many-
to
how many
get the
need-
full hour in.
How many supporters do you need to qualify for 90?
500.
Okay.
And I'm at like 495 this morning. Or
I'm only
496.
100 subscribers away from 50,000 on YouTube.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
Congratulations.
Sweet,
Nice.
man.
Pretty
We got it.
excited about
Break
that.
for 5-0,
Nice,
baby.
nice.
Let's get him across. You just need to come
Yeah.
to my
Do it.
stream.
Do
You need to come to my
it.
stream
Do
and
it.
we'll get you there.
Okay. Right on my priority list.
I don't understand this. I get so much hate.
Hey,
Oh my
you know what?
gosh.
I did what I did want to ask you guys about the Tasha K Cardi B lawsuit. I don't know if you guys
Ooh,
have
yes.
heard about that, but
Cardi
there's
B's
been
gonna
some new-
win. She's gonna win.
Yeah,
What?
she seemed like she's going to win, but Tasha K reviewed her attorney last year. So another
I
YouTube
heard
guy,
about that.
the lead attorney. Shout out to the lead attorney. He's the one that put me onto this. So Tasha K goes on and to VMO, right? The attorney, the site where you can go review attorneys, and she gave her attorney a review a couple of months ago, and that review is still up there. And
Yep.
the review
Awkward.
and this is still the same attorney that's still with her on the case right now. So hey, I'll share the screen of her review of her attorney, who's now losing the case. The attorney's like really losing the case right now. So it's like you're gonna put up a review of your attorney, and you're still, and you're still using this attorney. Go ahead.
And she was talking about how I didn't actually see the review, but I saw someone that's been covering these trials talking about it. That apparently she was saying something along the lines of like, this representation has been terrible. They they tried to influence me to to countersue, and then they decided we should drop it, and this person has just been so terrible. Oh, do you have it? Do you have a
I'm sharing it. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sharing
yeah,
it
yeah.
on
Okay.
the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm slow.
Even
This is
better.
Tasha-
Because I tried to find it. There you go.
So this was June 5th, 2021. So this is after they lost, I think, when her counterclaims got dismissed. So she gave her a 1-star review. Latasha gave me. This is the defendant. This is the defendant giving her own attorney, who's still litigating her case now, a review.
Will
not
not
she says.
use, will not use.
You see, this
Will
is
not
why
use
I
this
don't
attorney
complain
again.
about food in a restaurant, because they're going to spit on it in the kitchen.
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
Which, I mean, granted, any attorney still has, her attorney still has a duty to be a zealous advocate for your client, but so you can't exactly spit in their food, so to speak.
Yeah, so you say, but I can always slow roll anything I'm going to do. I can always put it on the back burner. I can always just barely make any deadline. I can always
you can decide to just barely meet the threshold for professional responsibility and no further.
Yeah, my printer toner doesn't need to be changed, and I'll screw the drum. It's semi-legible.
Can you bring it back up for a second? There was a funny line in the end.
Oh, hold on.
Hold on here. Look, it's at the here. Go to the last sentence. After paying her thousands of dollars over the past 3 years, if you've only paid your attorney thousands of dollars over 3 years, it's interesting. You're either underpaying your attorney or you have an attorney who's not actually doing any work, because thousands of dollars over 3 years is no work. So I mean, unless she meant tens of or hundreds of thousands.
But she said, "I will not be using this attorney again." Isn't she still using him?
Yep.
But Nate, I made a joke about the defense for the defendant in this case, specifically about the allegation of Cardi B having herpes. Which claim do you think Cardi B has the strongest claim on?
Herpes.
Which one do you think is least likely to be true?
Herpes.
She can go to the doctor.
She has actual medical records. She's turned those over.
Oh, here. Oh, this is the merch that we're float this one and compare it to the next one, and then this is the question. And I'm not trying to be glib about anything.
I like this one.
Hold on, I got it. Oh, I see. Oh, give me a second, dude. It's a pain in the ass.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the actual dilemma, because we live in a world gone mad as to whether or not I have to worry about accusations if I put a graph like this. Oh, that's the same one.
I know it's the same one. I'm
accusation. Are you asking Nate's permission to
no, not Nate.
I'm not doing it.
No, someone said that this might be a bannable offense on social media, and then I've been sitting on this for weeks trying to figure out the other design just had more fiery hair, but this is the crazy world in which we live.
I got it. It just takes a minute.
Okay.
I think it's a bannable offense because you obviously have some British guy with the English telephone moves behind him.
I think that this. Wait a minute. The second one didn't come up. Hold on.
Yeah,
I think the second one is probably better because there's no implication of any kind of blah blah blah, racial,
appropriation,
cultural appropriation. Someone said I didn't think of it
because it could be your hair on fire, Viva hair on fire, or it could be a fro. It could,
rubbish.
It could be anything.
But you're still using the word fro.
Yeah, I think.
Rubbish.
If anything, by the way, that could be Viva Fire.
How can it be appropriation? You do, in fact, have a fro.
Yeah.
There are some that
It's
even suggest
factual.
that I may not be allowed to sport hair like this. Okay, so that was my dilemma.
God.
So I'm going to figure it out.
It's
Just,
your
you know, put it in
hair. Like,
dreadlocks,
you
David.
have, like, you're
Now
not
put
doing
it in
it's your
dreadlocks
natural
and then
hair.
have
That's
Nate yell at me.
ridiculous.
Okay,
That's
now,
right.
the more serious question: Cardi B's herpes. Okay, so she has
Cardi B does not have herpes. I don't
Sorry,
want to
sorry.
get
More
Cardi
sued.
B's
serious
allegedly.
question.
So you have
Alleged
herpy
herpes.
hair?
Alleged herpes. Yeah.
Which strain of herpes did she show evidence that she did not have? Because if she's ever had chickenpox, there could be an
God.
argument that she's got, I believe it's called herpes zoster. So I say tongue in cheek, glib glib, but if she says, here's evidence I don't have oral herpes, but she might have had chickenpox as a child, hey, does it not become substantially true?
When
You can
they
also
said
have
that,
cold
I think we all
sores.
know what
Cold
we were
sores
talking
are
about when
are-
someone
well,
just says
David,
herpes.
when it's combined with calling her a lady of the evening,
Well, she
They
called herself
Lady of
that.
the
She was in
night.
a video about it.
Yeah,
I
she
remember.
was.
Isn't she the one
Well,
who said that she slipped drugs into somebody's drink?
Yes, she did.
oh,
say
no,
that.
she did that herself.
Yeah,
she did.
Yeah,
say
that's
she,
her
that
own
she,
claim.
she was agreeing to prostitution and then would rob them and drug them and rob them. That's what I used to do. That's what she said. I think. Well, the problem with this case is that it's lesser because a lot of the claims are defamation per se. Illegal drug use, prostitution, things that are illegal. You're saying I committed crime, so she's going after defamation per se. The biggest issue is that Tasha K's response to all this is that how much research did you do about these claims, the drug claims and all this stuff? She's more or less saying that she made it up. She's like, I didn't do any research. She said she saw a Pornhub video that could have been, that was a deep fake or something like that. So it was like that was the amount of research. So she's more or less tanking her own case. Go ahead, LegalBytes.
She on the stand, apparently. I got this from live tweets from people in the courtroom. So
Yeah.
keep little pinch of salt there with it. But apparently, if these tweets are accurate and correct, apparently she said on the stand, Tasha K said on the stand that she knew that what she was saying about the drugs, the prostitution, the STDs, that those were probably not true, but she went ahead with it anyway. That is the definition. That's textbook definition of actual malice.
Yeah.
But the question I'm asking after all of this is, okay, she says I had no reason to believe it was true when I said it, but if it turns out to be true afterwards just by fluke, I mean,
Yeah,
You're good.
Truth
That's an
is always
absolute
absolute
defense.
defense.
You're
That's
good.
what's
Yeah,
great.
truth is the absolute defense. If it's true,
because
you're good.
Cardi B comes out and says I slipped drugs to other people. Well, first of all, I mean, some might argue that her admitting to criminality might make her defamation proof to begin with. I don't know if they've raised this
Nah.
argument.
No, it's specifics though. So you got a specific,
Well,
Somebody wrote woman of negotiable affection. I've never heard that. That was on Rumble, by the way. Thank
So
you
a
very
woman.
much.
What about a sexual
Oh,
arts engineer?
oh,
Sexual
Jesus.
arts engineers.
How's that dating life going there, Kurt?
Could be going better. No, it's just fucking-
You're going to be like, so what is dinner anyway when you take them out?
Uber Eats is what dinner is. I'll tell you that.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, somebody
That adds up after
super
a
chat.
while.
I guess there's something going on with the Edgecombe. Brought the wife to a point of disassociation 20 minutes ago. I don't know what's going on with that.
She's on the stand. The reason I was,
Yeah,
the
no,
reason
my
I was,
phone's
she's on the stand. She's basically being cross-examined now by Ivory B. Lamar or B. Ivory and Lamar, and he's not equipped I don't think his attorney skills are sufficiently well developed to handle a very difficult situation to cross-examine a grieving widow who his defendant allegedly killed. Well, did kill, allegedly not in self-defense.
He's no Earl Grey, huh? Because Earl Grey was a master at it.
No, he's no Earl Grey. It was not going well. I was hard for me to pull myself away from that car crash as I was watching it in motion. But my commitment to you, Eric, and to
Thank
this
you,
show
Joe.
made me say to myself, you know what? I got a bail here. Go on over to Eric.
But you know what though?
What a great guy.
You got to go through those though. You got to go through the ones that you tank because the only way you get better is through trial and error. This may be his first time, but
that's rough though when you make the error on somebody else's life.
Yeah,
it's like do me a favor. Can you learn when I'm not your defendant?
You wish, but they got to learn on some defendant though. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, it's the tough. There's so many reasons it's tough, and just to explain to your audience why it's so tough, it's because you don't want to look like a bully. You sort of need to you want to counter her narrative without looking like you're an a-hole, and it's a very, very tough thing to do with that. You're going to because you're obviously contradicting her. You want to show that she's not giving a truthful representation of what happened that night. I mean, part of what she said, there's basically a few things that she said that do not fit with their narrative. In case you're unfamiliar with this situation,
Totally.
and if you don't know anything about the Edgecombe case, so basically, a husband and wife are driving back from a night at the bar. The wife is driving. She had 1 drink. He had 3 drinks, according to her own testimony, and that the window was half rolled down, according to the defendant. That he saw that there was some sort of thing where the defendant was on a bicycle while they were in a car, and there was almost a collision. There's a dispute as to what the husband screamed at that point. The wife's testimony was to the effect that he said he screamed out either "what the heck" or "what the F." Initially, she had told the police "what the F." She corrected that on the stand and said "what the heck." According to the defense, at that point in time, he actually cursed at the guy and called him N-word with a hard R. This leads to the bicyclist basically pedaling up to the at the next corner to the passenger, which is the husband. Window was half open, punches him in the face, apparently so hard that his glasses fly past the driver's side and end up stuck between the seat and the door. So it was a pretty significant punch. Well, that leads to a little bit of a car chase where he turns to the right. The wife drives after them, and husband gets out and starts charging after the bicyclist. He hops off his bicycle and pops the guy in the forehead, and he's dead. So now the question basically is, they're saying the defendant's saying self-defense, and they also allege the defendant that there was something in the guy's hand, or potentially something in his hand that made him a deadly threat. There was a knife found in his front pocket, and there was also testimony that she admitted that she went over to the body after the shooting, and she took something from the body, which she said on the stand was a wallet, and a knife a pocket knife was found in his front pocket. So I think the defense probably wants you to believe that she took a knife from his hand and put it in his pocket, which seems difficult to understand why she wouldn't to just put it in her own pocket if such a thing happened.
So who's the defense defending? I'm sorry, are they defending the cyclist or the driver? Because
Lamar is okay. So B.I.B. Lamar is a black civil rights activist, and he's defending the defendant in this case.
Who's the defendant?
The defendant is a black man.
The passenger in the car?
No, the guy who shot him. But
I use too many pronouns there, so I'll be clear. You have basically a Filipino woman driving with a white man who's an attorney. The white man is the one who dies here. The bicyclist is a black guy who claims basically first they called a racial slur at me, then I punched him, and then they chased after me. And when he chased after me, I got off my bicycle and shot the guy in self-defense.
How did the window get rolled down?
Okay.
She said it had been half open.
Okay.
So it's a weird thing to sort of punch someone through a half open window, because I personally, it's like you're always like afraid, like if it's half open, like you're throwing a punch hard at a small window between a gap in a window where you have to connect on it. That seems a little strange to me. The point I was making with respect to cross-examination, because this is a very tough situation. She's married 23 years. She actually is. She's presenting like even today, which is not surprising, it's 18 months later or so, like she's still in shock from this whole situation. Some of her conduct that she did then is not something that would be textbook as far as what someone would do, but not that shocking to me when you're considering that she's in shock. Like, she's not calling 911. She said, I couldn't open my phone up, and I started screaming for help to a car that pulls up there saying, someone call 911, because she was too shaken to remember her password. And they call 911, and a second later she's calling her daughter. So but hold on, because I'm not saying that's an attack on her. I'm saying she's not in a normal state of mind.
But hold on, just for the facts of the case, they admit that after the guy allegedly punched him in the face, that they then chased him down or followed him in the car.
There's video of that. There's video of him the car chasing after them. And this video is very distant video. It's really hard to see very much of anything, but basically of a guy popping out of the passenger side and then, going up to this guy and the bicyclist there, trying to go up on the sidewalk to get away from the car. And then the bicyclist basically pulls over and drops his bicycle, and they come up close enough to each other that the time the gunshot is taken, there's like stippling on the guy's face because the powder burns were close enough that, you know, it's not like he was like 20 feet away from him when he shot him. They were definitely within, you know, 5 feet or so. But the witnesses testified so far say there was no lunge from the victim here. He was never lunging at him the way Jojo Rosenbaum was lunging at Kyle, so to speak. But he certainly was. He's the victim is much bigger than the defendant also. He's like got 60 pounds on. So that theoretically could be relevant. The real problem defendant has is he fled and like fled 6 states away. They found him months later.
Question: defendant has not testified.
He supposedly will testify, but the prosecution's still putting their case on. In opening statements, Lamar said that the jury's going to hear from the defendant himself.
Okay, that's so weird that everybody's doing that now. I don't know.
Second question: do we know? Did the defendant have? Do we know of any criminal history of the defendant for whatever it's relevant?
I don't know that anything like I don't know anything at that point. What we do know is that he was illegally in possession of it, that he was not allowed to legally carry the gun at that time. We don't know specifics on why, but the defense got that out of the way in his opening statement, that he was not legally permitted to carry the gun.
But actually, it's actually good that we don't know his criminal history, because it actually would be irrelevant because it would be propensity evidence. So making the decision without that knowledge is actually a pretty
well. Just before this stream started, though, there was fireworks in that trial though over the paralegal. So the wife of the wife of the victim was testifying, and the defense was about to cross-examine her, and they apparently had their paralegal go print some stuff from Facebook in the interim that they're now going to try to offer as exhibits in this trial. Statements, because she's testified basically he was a peaceful man, and apparently once on Facebook he said to someone, "We're not going to get along," which somewhat suggests that he's violent.
No, that was his bio. His bio tagline was
bio tagline. Okay, whatever. Yeah. So not only did the judge not allow the evidence in, but because the paralegal was doing all this background research, he's like, they're a witness now. They're excluded from the trial. So the paralegal out of the courtroom not allowed back.
By the way, the
judge
criminal
is furious at the defense counsel.
The criminal history. I mean, we know why it could be relevant and why not. But going to the illegal possession of the firearm, was it illegal because he's in a state where that gun is not allowed, or was it illegal because he was felony convicted and not allowed to own a firearm?
Doesn't matter. Clarified. Has not been clarified.
Does it matter?
Not really.
Nate, I'll defer to you on that. The reason for which he was in unlawful possession of a firearm, state law versus criminal history, and therefore barred from owning one. Would it be relevant then? Criminal history?
I don't think so.
It would only be unless they're charging him with felon in possession of a weapon. Then it would be relevant. But
it still wouldn't impact the self-defense claim, because I've seen cases like that.
Yes, but I mean, generally they would tell the jury that even though the fact that the gun was illegal, like in Rittenhouse, even though the fact that, remember, they charged him with the gun, that was still irrelevant to the fact if he was acting in self-defense. So he could have been. It happened in the Andrew Coffey case. Andrew Coffey was a felon in legal possession of a weapon, and he shot at cops, and someone actually was killed, and he was found to be acting in self-defense with all those after shooting at the cops and killing someone. But when it came to his felon in possession of a gun, he was found guilty and got 30 years in prison for that. So even though it was illegal, it actually didn't matter in his self-defense claim.
But what about the second claim about the paralegal here that the super chat brought up? A law enforcement officer, paralegal?
Yeah. As a Leo as opposed to a Gemini?
No. As a law enforcement officer. Yeah. Wow. So what happened with
he's a Canadian. He doesn't understand that.
This judge is he looks like he's perfect military. He looks exactly like he looks like a drill sergeant. He does not take any crap. He takes no crap at all. Unlike Schroeder, who says, don't get brazen at me, and then calms down 3 minutes later. He's like, no, there's punishment coming. You need to learn your lesson here, and I'm not going to tolerate your stupid excuses saying this office did it, and we know what that office was doing. The specifics with that incident yesterday was that a witness came up on the stand, and there was question as to who had spoken to this witness, whether the police had spoken to them, whether the defense counsel had an opportunity to speak to them. And the witness on the stand said that woman over there came over to me and she said she contacted me and said she wanted to meet with me. And instead of me coming to her, that she was going to come to my house. And she came to my house and I thought she was a cop. So I didn't even know that I'd spoken to defense counsel. Apparently it was defense counsel. This got the judge outraged. Like, why is someone from your office presenting themselves as a police officer to a witness? And now maybe potentially she's a witness to this case. And he started, and the judge started asking the prosecution, do you want to call her as a witness? And he's like, well, we don't want, the prosecution's like, we don't want to get bogged down with that. Who gives a damn what happened there? As long as we don't have to worry about the fact that we failed in a responsibility to offer up a witness to the defense, we pretty much don't care about this. I mean, he didn't word it that much, but he's like, yeah, we're going to let that one go. But the judge was very upset about it yesterday, that he felt that there was shenanigans, although he didn't use that word, but he basically felt as if they were playing games. And when he was questioning him about it, so one attorney's office, because there's two attorney's office representing the defendant, so one attorney's office is like, well, we didn't even know what they were doing there. He's like, no. This is you're a coach of a football team. You're responsible for what happens with all the players of this football team. Don't start giving me that crap. And today, when, as Kurt pointed out, when they came in last second after the direct testimony of the wife is concluded, and she said, he was someone who's a conflict resolution guy, and that, he's not someone looking for conflict. So they had the same paralegal dig up a Facebook bio which says we're not going to get along. So they want to have
your bio, Joe.
Yeah, well, I don't know why that is. I'm so peaceful. I love everybody. I love
mostly
all of
peaceful. Mostly peaceful.
I'm
like
very fiery.
My bio actually says fiery but mostly funny YouTube content creator. So
that's
wow, so aggressive. So I basically so the judge is like, who took this screenshot? Where did this screenshot come from? I want to know more about this. Why is this coming in here now? And they're like, well, it's our paralegal over there. He's like, the same paralegal again is digging it up. Why is she the one who's digging it up? You should have an investigator doing this. What's the foundation here? What's the relevance? He's going, we're having a sidebar right now. And he comes out and he's basically like, yeah, I'm not allowing that Facebook thing in. And your paralegal there is now a potential witness. She's removed from the court for the balance of this trial. And this dude is not playing around. This is the way judges are supposed to be. As far as we have rules of decorum, how things are structured here. You don't follow it. Piss off.
Can that backfire later, though, if the judge is extremely aggressive towards the defense or super angry with one side or another? Could it come up in an appeal that the judge was picking on me? And it's a legit question.
Yeah, it's possible if you have enough things like that to show an undue hostility, that would show along with, of course, a lot of rulings that would disfavor one side, but statements along with it could show undue hostility to one side or the other. So it's possible. You're gonna need a lot, though. You're gonna need a lot of rulings that are going against one side and a lot of overt statements along that way to make that kind of argument.
Yeah.
It also needs to be undue. It needs to be undue, not something that they earned.
That's also true.
Not something they earned by being like jackasses.
Yeah, that's also true.
So.
Just because the judge is yelling at you a lot doesn't mean it's undue. That's fair. Good point.
Well, and that's another question, though. When they determine an appeal, somebody please answer this. Are they looking at strictly a transcript, or are they looking at audio or video?
No, it's always a transcript. Cold, hard transcript and nothing else, baby.
Which is really bad news, because tonality is extremely important in what you're doing. Like Kurt, you're saying, Joe, I think you're just a fantastic lawyer.
No, he never used those words.
I think the reason why they just use a transcript, because they don't want it's not generally appeals are based on the law and not the factual determinations, because those impressions are usually factual determination for the jury. So the credibility of the witness, if they're sweating, and so forth and so forth. Where the judge is just saying, well, we're just going to take whatever those facts are that the jury concluded, and then just going to look at the law. So that's they kind of do that to kind of weed out those biases.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I know you can manipulate with language in it where everything will read perfectly on paper, but meanwhile you're telling somebody to F themselves 4 ways from Sunday.
Yep.
Wow, we got very silent. I don't think it was that dark of a
I
point.
felt like I was talking too much, so like that's why I wanted to give other people.
Oh, look
Always
at that.
true.
Look at that, Joe.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so what is the other case going on? So we know that parental.
Well, we just had the big NCAA announcement today. I don't know if you guys heard the
what's that? I haven't heard
NCAA
about
What
it.
happened with that?
that they're allowing transgendered women,
you can
transgender
have
women to compete with transgendered biological men. They're allowing them to compete against women. Yeah. So the big
Maybe
case
women's
was the one
basketball
from
will be
Penn.
interesting now.
The big case was Penn State because there was a guy. Well, it used to be a guy, former guy, who transitioned to being a woman. So the guy, he was on the swim team for 3 years, and for the men's team, and then in 2019, kind of like, you know what, I want to go and play on the women's team. So he played. So now he swims as a transgender woman for the women's team. But he's so good that he blew out all like the school records and is like, blew it. Like we were just watching on Nick Stream, the competition where he just like totally, like we won the race by lapping all the women in the race.
So let's just drop Title IX. That's all I say. Drop Title IX because it's all bullshit now. No. You know what? We'll no longer separate it. Period. We'll just say that we have no Title IX. We have a swim team. Whoever's good gets on there, and guess what? That'll take care of it. No trans will get on then. In that case,
but Viva, now you're muted.
But the new piece is that now what they're saying is that they're specifically saying that, so they're going to let it be done sport by sport. So each sport is going to be able to dictate. But the fact of the matter, and one of the consequences of that is that for swimming, they're allowing this, obviously, this guy or this transitioning guy to now compete with the women. So now that person's now breaking all the records and everything. So now they're saying
sport by
still
sport.
fair.
How does that make any sense?
It just means they're going to slow roll it until it hits all the sports because it's a woke freaking culture, and you already know.
I put out a tweet yesterday. Just it's the individual who's the transgender individual is only recently transgender and is complying with these rules that testosterone level has to be below a certain level to compete with the women because gender is a social construct, but there's so much biology in it that they have to meet certain biological requirements, acknowledging that there are certain biological advantages that are bestowed on biological males versus biological females. And anecdotally, someone, I forget who it was, said they were watching the video of the swimming competition. They don't understand what swimming is, and they didn't understand what they were watching because Leah Thompson was so far ahead.
It's Thomas. I think you're right. I think it's Thomas.
Leah Thompson was so far ahead of the rest of the competitors. They didn't understand why they were off sync because everyone else is within a certain margin of one another. And it's look. I did a podcast with Gad Sad yesterday, and we're living in a world where you can't even state the obvious. It's the issue now of people call it catering to the rights of transgender. Call it whatever you want. It's trampling the rights of biological women who fought long and hard to get equal treatment. And the fact that Leah Thomas is destroying it is only somewhat consequential. It wouldn't really make much of a difference if she were just almost as good, but not. There were some other examples where they said, well, transgender athletes don't always win. That's still
that's not an answer, by the way. And but I'm gonna throw it out there. Let's take sex and everything out of it, and I'm going to ask you a question. Why are athletes who are on steroids and drugs banned for life in sports when they can obviously come up clean? They can obviously, now they do steroids for a while, they're in the top of the game, and then they stop. Why is it they can't 5 years later come back in or things like that? The reason is when you train at the level of using hardcore steroids, EPO, and things like that, it advances your muscle development to a degree beyond normality. So even though your levels may seem to be okay now, it doesn't matter because your structure has already received that benefit. This is irrelevant to men and women.
Interesting.
On that, I'm just throwing it out there because like in cycling or something, the Lance Armstrongs of the world or whatever, they're turned into a machine. His heart was literally enlarged. All of his body is so primed up that even when he's off of it, it doesn't matter. He's a super athlete. 5 years down the road, he's clean. This is a similar principle of a male transitioning to a female, because it's like they've been doping on testosterone for their entire life to get to a level and then going against.
This is
the
catch-22. This is the catch-22 of the whole situation, right? And before I say this, if anybody is watching, this is not to say anything about, trans people not being people. You can still treat them with dignity and respect and whatnot.
I agree.
And still, and I don't think that anybody here disagrees, but I just wanted to make you state the obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, this is not to say anything like that they're terrible people or anything like that, or anything less than. However, this is the catch-22 of the biological catch-22 of this situation, is that you're right. You're absolutely right, Eric, that for many, many years, when you have testosterone that's pumping through your body, you have biological changes. You have bone density, you have, different structures that are made in your body that are maybe more, ergonomic or that put you at a physical advantage over women. It's true. So then the solution to that, by a lot of people, is well then these children need to have their hormone treatment before puberty, because that way they don't go through puberty with testosterone or with estrogen if they're transitioning to being a man, biologically or whatever. But the problem with that is then, of course, we're talking about children well before the ability to make legal decisions for themselves, and we've got parents that are making that decision for them, and kids. I mean, the brain is not fully developed, so it's like, how can you make a decision that's going to impact the rest of your life? Because then you can't have children as an adult, and it's just there are so many problems with making that kind of a decision at that kind of an age, because there's so much that you don't know, so much that kids could not possibly know.
In other words, just don't play God. It would be a short term for that.
Well, we have this problem in Canada with the courts actually authorizing, at the request of the children, despite parental objection, transitioning before puberty. But it's beyond that. I mean,
okay, so kids can drive at 10.
Well,
you know what? I think they should be able to drive at 10, because
get a tattoo or drink
get
alcohol.
A tattoo. Yeah, well,
but
why not?
Enter into a contract.
No, the issue also
physiological. What's wrong, Joe? Is your head gonna explode?
If I say anything, your channel's gonna explode. So
before
we go crazy, play this. This is the race. This is the actual race. Where you see this is towards the end of the race. Where you see the arrow.
Let's watch the win.
Well, wait! Before you press play, it's a multi-leg race. So there's, if as far as I understand, Nate,
back up about 10 seconds or so, Nate, so we can see her coming into the finish.
This is him coming into the finish.
Okay.
So
her
coming into the finish.
Sorry.
No,
so
it's
him. So where you see the arrow is where.
What's the name? What's the name of the person?
Leah Thomas.
Leah.
Just say this is Leah coming into the finish.
This is Leah coming into the finish.
Larry.
And you'll see how long it takes the second place person to finish. So that's where it's just a couple of seconds. So let me play this. Here we go. So Leah has now finished.
Now I thought that the bottom leg was somebody coming in second, but it's like, no, they're still.
I just wonder, like, I want to know if Leah feels good about.
So you see, everybody is still lapping. Everybody's still Leah's chilling. Everybody's now got to go back and still touch the wall.
And Eric, you bring up my tweet that I put up yesterday. I mean, physiologically, there's a physiological difference in the body, the arm span, the size of the hands. In terms
I know that's what I was talking about.
There's no differences between men and women at all.
This is the second place is now come in. Boom, that's second.
See, I could have gone and got some coffee.
She just has to train harder. Train harder, girl.
And
what I love, though,
there's no differences between men and women.
Hold on.
In fact, what is a woman? Can anyone here define a woman?
Well, you could just go with the chromosome.
I am.
Are you sure?
XX and XY.
I mean, hey, I've got certain experiences that come from certain biological processes that other people don't have. you know, that no biological man has, and you cannot tell me that you know that childbirth is not a very important part of being a woman.
No, they'll tell you that. They'll say men can get pregnant. So then they get a transition female to male with a belly and say, look, that's a pregnant man.
Well,
I know that.
But that's a very female experience. And I will say, even the decision not to have kids. So even for women that you know, that decide to forego having children, that is part of a woman's experience. And so that's just, to me, like that is a fundamental issue. I have no problem if someone, you know, if Caitlyn Jenner, I have no problem calling her Caitlyn Jenner. If Caitlyn Jenner says, call me Caitlyn and refer to me as she, her, I have no problem doing that. I have no problem doing that. But at the same time,
Caitlyn Jenner is Woman of the Year. Remember, she transitioned as she was for 6 months.
That was also
Woman of the Year.
annoying.
No, Caitlyn Jenner is.
There are a lot of women that need to be recognized.
But hold on, we should all appreciate the madness. Is that Caitlyn Jenner is nominated Woman of the Year? Jeopardy, most winningest female Jeopardy contestant, a transitioning or trans male. The winningest swimmer, trans male. I mean. Anybody, it's not a question of discriminating.
Jeopardy, hold on, you said Jeopardy. I don't give a damn about that because there's no physiological difference between the two.
No. Because when Jeopardy makes the distinction and then says the winningest female contestant is, and then includes a trans male. I mean, at some point, I don't think there should be any.
That gets into silly versus annoying. Like, I did put out on the on my news thing, and started railing about a trans actress. Getting best female actress and how I was annoyed, and said that, well, wait a minute, they're saying that you can't have, you know, straight males playing gay or trans or this or that. And I railed about it. And then somebody said, hey, dumbass, get on Wikipedia and look it up. And it turns out that it was a trans person playing a trans character. And then you get into the question of like, well, where do you put them? Do you say that they're a male or female? I'm like, I just don't care. I don't see the fundamental unfairness aspect of it like you do have with the athletics. I don't know. I mean, I think the whole thing is silly. You know, my personal feelings is it's silly, but it doesn't feel as completely unfair like the swim meet. Jeopardy contestant,
when you call Caitlyn Jenner Woman of the Year, you're basically saying men are better at everything, even at being women.
No, I agree with that.
It's a meme, but people appreciate.
I'm going to clip that. That's a good one.
Well, that meme's been around for a while, but people say that it's an act of othering by not recognizing trans identity, which is actually falsifies the argument. But even in that argument, that others biological females, and that others an entire group who had to fight for years for equality. By saying, well, now you have to recognize my desire to this. And the issue is, it is not discrimination when you acknowledge physiological differences that give any group a biological advantage over another. It's why you have weight classes in fights. So you don't have one weight class who's 100 pounds bigger unless it's that UFC fight from the second season there.
Well, unless it's Jake Paul.
What's the deal?
But then that's even by a skill versus size, you know, scenario.
Huntus in the chat makes a very good point. She says, you know, are we not allowed to win anything? Right? Because then it gets to the
yes.
Well, if you're saying they can't compete against men, they can't compete against women, then you know it's like, are they just not allowed to compete? And then
they
if
can
they're
compete
successful,
in the other,
if they
we'll have a nice little category called
like,
other, and
do you have a mixed gender
otherize
category?
Them, it'll be fantastic.
Do you just have a mixed gender? First of all,
mixed gender category. Hold on. If Huntus, are you trans? If so, I would love to talk to you. I will put it out there. Please contact me. ericunley.com/contact. And I know I would absolutely love to talk this out.
Here's what I say. You're allowed to win anything in your biological sex. Go nuts.
Yeah.
I think Huntus might be a woman complaining about trans men.
I don't know. I'm just asking if you are trans, please reach out to me. I really, really would like to talk to you. Genuinely.
Huntus says yes.
Awesome. Yeah, please reach out.
You can win anything. If it's a sex-based category, you can compete in your biological sex. That's what I say. And if you can win, go crazy.
Huntus also said that. I mean, about the what was it earlier? Something about the Jeopardy categories. Why are those gendered anyway?
I agree.
mean,
I think that's
completely
irrelevant.
agree.
I just want to say winner.
Yeah.
You know, whoever's
And
the
this is
winner.
Jeopardy is not.
By the way, it's an
Yes,
insult
that's-
because here's the thing. Let's say
Yeah,
that
that is an insult.
let's say that somebody is ahead of Ken Jennings, who is the winningest ever, and it's a female. Now, are you going to say this is the biggest female Jeopardy winner ever, or just the biggest Jeopardy winner ever? I feel like you're actually taking away something when you.
But they never called
meta-wise,
Ken Jennings
yes,
the biggest white male Jeopardy winner ever,
exactly.
right? He was just the biggest winner. And I think Jeopardy, when you're talking about, intelligence, it doesn't matter with your gender, even color, anything, right? You're just the number got them on person.
They separate it sometimes for poker tournaments, which I think that there are certain realms where when it's only dealing with the brain, I agree. The distinction there
They
is
separated in
arguably
chess. There's such a thing as female grandmasters, which are distinct from grandmasters.
Yeah.
It's like a difference if I drink 400 points or something.
Chess is different from trivia.
Why? It's just a purely mental skill.
No, it's not, because they're different forms of mental skill.
Oh no, I know some women. Listen, I'm a master in chess, and I know some women that kick ass. Like there's some.
Oh, there are some. There are plenty of women that
kick
kick ass.
It's not like it's not like hard to find too. It's
what
like
I'm
you
saying,
go in there.
what I'm saying is, let's think about this for a moment. Trivia is basically a memory test. That's what it is. It's a memory test as opposed to your cognitive decision making process, which is a completely different part of your brain. People have different specialties where they're intelligent, and I agree that it's a different thing when you're talking about mental acuity versus physical acuity. That's certainly obvious, and Eric's making a fair point on that. I don't think men and women think alike either, though. I don't think that we naturally think alike. I think
No, they
there are
don't.
differences in the way we think. Now, that doesn't.
You have to narrow that down a little bit to be able to have a discussion about it. But yeah,
you're correct, because as I just pointed out, there are different forms of intellect. There's memory versus cognitive approach versus the ability to juggle different things in your mind, which women have a far greater advantage than men.
There is the argument too, Joe, and I want to bring up that many of the sports were developed for men by men.
That's true.
And that has factors like in long distance running. Now people are going to push back at me and say, oh, that's BS or whatever, but there are multiple cases of females winning, like I think the Moab 500. Women tend to, if you look at,
I don't know what the Moab 500 is.
That's
ultramarathon.
swimming.
I think it's
like
talking
a
about
500
swimming.
No, 500 mile running race.
Ultramarathon.
Anyway,
yeah.
No, my point is there's certain parts of the brain where women have a distinct advantage over men.
I got it.
The way we think is different.
Yes, the ability to remember every little mistake their man has ever made ever.
Bam!
They are really good at that.
Okay. Dean Clark says, so Joe's stance is that women can't be good at chess, which I don't think. I think that's not the point. But Joe is saying
that's not all what I'm saying.
Joe is saying that over a big enough sample field, the vast majority of the best chess players in the world will be men. The flip side argument to that is that culturally speaking, women have not played as much chess as men, and therefore the sample pool is much smaller to begin with.
Which is true.
Which I think is simple for poker, but.
Well, I mean, because I've taught chess before, and I'll even be honest. When I first went into it, I thought I kind of had that same thing. But then it's like when everybody kind of learns the same skill, at the end of the day, it's like everybody. You have some people who pop out as being more adept to it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of just levels out. Everybody's the same. So you're right. I think more men go to the sport and play it more. But at the end of the day, when everybody,
I'm going to use another example to pull gender back out of it. Why is it Jamaica has all the world's best sprinters? It's not that big of a country. You can't tell me that there aren't fast people in the United States, which is not that far away. And the reality is opportunity and where they go. In America, somebody who's probably a faster sprinter is going to be in the NFL, where they make real money. That's what they're going to grow up, culturally speaking, into doing. They don't have an NFL in Jamaica. They have sprinting. So that means that they channel the sports in there.
But there are also geological ways that the environment can also impact.
Kenya,
like Kenya is one of those. That area of the world. I mean, I think that just the elevation,
diet
is much higher.
Well.
Diet, yes, exactly. And just the way that people have evolved to living in the climate,
and doping, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Diet, doping, and elevation. Well, now they've got a problem over there.
Do they? I don't know. I don't know anything about that. So
it's starting to come out more and more, sadly.
The bottom line to the entire discussion is that if it comes down to trans rights trumping women's rights, and that's a problem. If it comes down to the argument that trans rights are women's rights, then that becomes a problem as well, because then what makes a woman? If what makes a woman is a choice and not biology, then you don't have to have testosterone levels whatsoever. So it's this full circle argument that doesn't make sense. Why are you not a woman?
Why am I not a woman? What are the
because you do not have the XX
benchmarks are there?
Is it XX chromosome or XY? Which one's the woman?
XY is male, XX is female.
You know what? See, I think it all comes down to, why do we separate sports in this way? Why is there, for men and for women? And a lot of people, like I was saying on Nick's stream, a lot of times people don't realize the barrier. If a woman can play in the NFL, there's no barrier for her to play in the NFL. But there is a barrier if a man wants to go play for, let's say, go play women's soccer, right? They're actually not allowed to play women's soccer, where the reverse is not true. And the reason why is because we know that there are physical differences that if we just open it up to a mixed gender thing, then it would always be all men. So we understand that. Now we're trying to contextualize what do we do for people who are transitioning between those genders? Is it fair to allow somebody who's a biological man to compete when we know the fact that there are these biological differences? So I think it's always going to be a struggle. I don't think that the answer is going to be easy, but it's something that has to deal with. We have to deal with it.
The easy solution for sports would be either by choice, so you can opt in to a third league, which will be gender of choice, or you have a gender league, a trans league, which admittedly will not have that big of a field pool of possibility. So you might have it's like when we were wrestling in high school, they had a weight class under 100 pounds, but very few people were in it. And so, you had 3 people where everyone won, and maybe it didn't feel as good as the other categories where you had 100 people to compete with. But those are the 2 real solutions without utterly trampling on the rights of biological women who have a biological disadvantage, whether you like saying it or not, to trans male to female athletes, period.
All right. Here, Hontus is saying there's 10 of us, and I understand the argument, but I don't think it really holds up in terms of a minority argument, because that's 10 technically women who have been training their whole lives. Potentially, it's like, well, which 10? Is it okay? Is it not? It gets really hard to the
women who almost would have made the U.S. Olympic team. It matters.
Yeah.
Well, not just that, but I mean, they might win once in a blue moon. I don't know that I agree with that, but when they do, they dominate and destroy all prior female, biological female records. In the track one out of that state, what state was it? I forget what state it was. It was the runner. In swimming, I mean, it's only a matter of time. It's not even, and it's not just a hypothetical. It's only a matter of time. If you have enough of it, there will be no biological women's sports or biological women records anymore.
Well, listen, I want you guys to listen to this. This is actually something that recently happened in Australia. I know how you guys love Australia.
Women's nipple.
Yes.
Well, wait,
I'm gonna play it so you guys can all hear it.
Look in private chat. I actually put it in private chat there.
Yeah, I have it.
Go on. Let me see what's in the private chat.
I have it
Nick
queued
said
up.
that Australia doesn't exist, so we can't acknowledge it.
So here we go. Now,
just be careful.
Listen to what happened.
Listen to her describe it, because her just listen. You have to listen. Just listen to her talk about women's nipple. It's very.
It sounds like you say nipple, dude.
Oh, it did sound. This is not like that.
Boys netball team is allowed to compete against the all girls team for the state title.
Netball.
Now, the all boys team wins every match, running up huge score lines, including a 30-goal victory in the grand final. All the while, parents watch on. They're angry, but they're powerless from the sidelines. Now, it all sounds like a bit of fiction, doesn't it? A Hollywood movie. That's exactly what happened at the Queensland netball titles earlier this week, where the all-male Queensland Suns blitzed their all-female competitors to be crowned the Queensland under-18 state champions. Now, it's been labelled crazy and unfair, but Netball Queensland is refusing to apologise. For her reaction, I want to bring co-founder of Save Women's Sport Australasia, Catherine Deves. Catherine, you may have been a netballer in your day. I was. I played mixed netball, but I don't know if I'd like to be in a team of women going up against a team of athletic men. Who in their right mind thought this
All right,
was
Nate,
okay?
go and pause, because there's one hole in this. There's one big hole in this whole thing, and that's simply that they are playing men directly, and all the trans would flat out say, "Well, they're not taking hormones. This is literally men versus women. It's not the exact same thing, so you can't say it's apples to apples." That's I would point that out.
But only thing, the reason why I was pointing that out is because the reason why we have the differences is because of things we know that even if we had a third category, then we know for a fact that third category will be dominated by men, right? You say Usain Bolt would win the men's and then go win the mixed and then go and get 2 checks. So, how do we navigate this? I don't know.
By the way, I just messaged this to Eric, but you might not want to share it for copyright issues. But for anyone who has not seen the advertisement for the deck waxing or deck varnishing, go look up New Zealand decking advert.
Well, and let me guess. They
I
have
know
an
how
accent.
they pronounce
He's
it.
got the smoothest dick in all of the town. All the kids want to play on his dick. It's hilarious.
I love it.
But I don't
love
think you
it.
should play because you'll get a copy strike. Just put the link in the chat so people can have a good laugh.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So
We are all professional adults.
You know what? I'm going to tweet it out, everybody. I'm just going to tweet it out. So, follow me on Twitter on the air.
Oh,
You know, I want to point out that the strongest argument here against trans competing is, I think, when Hontus made a comment saying, "Can't we win anything?" And I said, is that an argument for trans or is that an argument for women? And that's the point. It's like, trans community is basically saying, well, can't we win anything? And women will say, well, can't we win anything? Now we're basically, it's being taken from us by biological men. Why can't we win anything? That is the most powerful argument against
because we're
trans
better
community joining. No, but I'm saying is, why should men be able to join? Why can't women have any area that's exclusively their own, that they don't have to worry about biological males dominating and taking every record they have?
But the idea that it becomes immoral to just acknowledge biological differences. I mean, they're acknowledged in the rules that they set to compensate for those biological inequities. So it's not a question of othering anybody. In as much as the distinction between biological male and biological female makes no difference, discriminating on that ground is discrimination. In as much as it becomes material for the distinction between the two and equality between the two, to ignore it, it's not pro-trans, it's misogynist and anti-female. I mean, that's the hard reality that it's difficult for some people to say, because in acknowledging women's rights, it's been spun as denying trans rights. But in as much as the distinction is irrelevant, there should be no distinction.
I spent 25 years fighting against feminism as if it's because I recognize it as being one of the most evil things for women, the most harmful things for women. And I feel like I'm becoming a feminist now, because I feel as if women actually need defense from men who are basically saying, if I'm going to just take a little bit of hormone shot and all of a sudden now I'm going to dominate women's sports, I think it's a terrible thing. Well, so I'm coming out as a feminist.
You and J.K. Rowling, right?
But also the definition of feminism, I think, has changed.
All right, Nate. Thank you.
Later, brother.
See you guys a little
later.
But
I was going to say that the definition of feminism, I think, has changed over the years. I mean, the common understanding of the term feminism is a bit skewed, because it's not so much about, at least as far as I have observed, typically people that put themselves out there as feminists these days are not people that are actually looking for equality between the sexes where it matters, but rather, I guess you could say a remedial sort of position that requires equity as opposed to equality.
Okay. I love that Hontus put this up. And first off, there's waves of feminism too, Alita, because there's like all the way through second wave. I think most people would agree. In the 70s, it was really, really ugly, especially early. It was like, okay, you have to have a man in order to have a checking account and things like that, which is just ludicrous. And I think a lot of the original feminist planks, they had a complete legitimate claim and really needed to address that. What I worry about is the different aggrieved groups getting to the point where it's like they don't want equality. They actually want to be ahead. They want to win. They want payback. They want revenge. And that's a problem. So, Hontus, okay, to answer your question, should I lose your adjunct professorship, research collaborations? No, and no. Especially
you're muted. You're muted.
If you've earned this on your ability. I don't even care about your gender at all.
The
male, female. Are you the best professor?
The question but hold on. But the question I would ask Hontus is, did you get that job? Was it a job that was, for hypothetically, offered only to female applicants? I mean, that would be biological female applicants. This would be an area where, unless it's a scholarship that you have your biological male, biological female, then the question does become, where do trans fit in that distinction? Because it's true, they deserve to have a shot at a scholarship. If the only two categories are male and female, where do they go? Or where do the trans go? That's one thing.
I know the answer to this question.
Go for it.
It's your biological sex.
Well, but it's not clear that was a criteria for obtaining the professorship in the first place. So setting that aside, all things being equal, of course not, because gender, when it comes to professorship, it's an irrelevant distinction when it comes to how well you can teach, what you can, how good your brain works, how sociable you are, and how good at your job you can be. That's not the same when it comes to a sport that requires muscle mass, arm span, testosterone, etc. It's just not the same comparison.
And that's why I always keep breaking it down to doping. I don't believe in doping, and so I just look at it on this, level. Is it like a doping situation? Yes or no? If you believe doping is fine, then everybody dope away and do whatever you want. If you don't believe it, and I do think there is a definite parallel due to the natural chemicals that are within people. So that to me takes a little bit of the gender principle or sex principle, all that out. Do you have it? Yes or no? And just go on that. I'm really not trying to pick on a particular side one way or another. I'm trying to be fair. And obviously, I'm sure I'm going to fall flat. Like I was wrong on the Academy Awards thing, I think it's just now it's like, well, people who are playing make-believe, I'm going to get upset about somebody playing a character that's something else. It's so confusing. My head can't get around. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just leave it up to the Academy. You figure it out. I don't care. I don't see where there's a...
Well, and Hontus responded too. Hontus said, I don't think so, but if they are trying to hire more women, would they tell me? As Joe admitted, I passed. I had to come out to HR. No one knew. So, I mean, it sounds like the position that you have is not gendered, and it wasn't awarded on the basis of anyone being a man or a woman, which is how things, in my opinion, really should be. I mean, I understand that there are certain remedial programs to try to encourage women to enter certain fields and whatnot, particularly in STEM, and I get that. But as far as I'm aware, every job I've ever gotten was because of my educational background, my skills, my expertise, my experiences. And I would like to at least think that I was hired, not because I'm a woman, but because of all of those other things. And it seems like you were hired for the same reasons too. So it doesn't seem like anyone would reasonably say that should be taken away from you just because you're trans.
By the way, memers, if you're watching, we do need Joe the Feminist memes going.
I was also going to say, memers, if you're watching, Louis Anderson did die, and
yes, he did.
Meatloaf did die. So those are
that is unfortunate.
Don't make the same mistake I did, thinking Betty White died in the chat was a meme. Because,
well, to be fair, you got 2 out of 3 right, and 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
By the way, if you guys look at
you see what I did
too
there?
soon,
You see what I
soon.
No.
That's
not offensive.
That's not bad. By the way, if you do look at the thumbnail, I preemptively did help Joe along with a trans discussion. If you look at it really carefully,
I didn't notice the thumbnail. Am I supposed to?
You don't have to. This is for the audience.
I don't even know what I'm supposed to be looking like there. I'm missing it.
No worries.
I would do anything for love. Won't do that.
Oh, you're actually on pitch, Kurt. That's not half bad. The issue is it's just where biology procures an unfair advantage to a biological unfair advantage. I never actually appreciated, Eric, that the doping lifetime ban is a question. I always thought it was just a question of trust. They can never be trusted again, but never appreciated the muscle memory aspect of it. That once you've gotten to that level, it's not as though your muscles forget just because you no longer have that edge. You always have that ingrained edge. I never appreciated that. I thought Lance Armstrong, just because he proved himself to be a pathological liar, that you'd always assume he was trying to find a way around the rules,
right? Not
that he's already trained himself into being unfairly advantaged.
Yeah, his heart rate, I think, is 35 beats a minute.
That's not healthy, though. I mean, mine
well, whatever you want to say.
That does sound very low.
What's the normal resting heart rate?
It should be about 60 if you want to be healthy.
Well, but 60 also is the baseline. 50, great athletes are like 49 to 55.
Yeah, I was going to say particularly long endurance athletes like Tour de France, marathoners. They tend to have a much lower resting heart rate.
I'm going to go check my heart rate right now. I got the heart app. I'm just going to see. I'm typically pretty good.
Yours is probably not too low based on your angry tweets recently.
This is going to win well.
Am I in the right spot?
Mine's terrible. When I was running full on, I'd be about 51 to 55 average.
I have no idea what mine is.
So especially sleeping, because your heart when you sleep is going to be your lowest, overall resting heart rate, typically. But that is significant. So if you get your heart trained to such a degree, it doesn't take that
It
much.
says like 77. That's not great.
No, it could be worse. It could be like 90. Who knows? Oh, somebody's heart rate is up because sexy Viva Frei is on the panel.
Hold on. Let's. I don't want to add tags. Okay, 65 right now. That's not. That, and
He was not paying attention.
I wasn't focusing. I wasn't zen like I usually am. Yeah. Okay. Not yet. Oh, I'm awesome. Okay. Get out of here. No, but it's an interesting argument. The issue is that even having the discussion gets bypassed to the demonizing of the interlocutors. Nobody wants to actually have a discussion about the facts. It is allies, not friends. It is allies, not discourse. And if you espouse the belief, you just get demonized as being a bigot or whatever. And so, on the one hand, if people want to play that game, people can throw around the names, but at some point you have to have an honest discussion and have to have fair and practical solutions.
Right. And I did hear from her, and I will definitely.
It'll be good.
No, I look forward to it. It's like I had Dr. Wood on last week, and he tends to bring out upset people quite often. So a lot of people be annoyed, but I think I would definitely like to talk to Ontis. I hate to talk about people and not be willing to talk to people.
Right.
I think it's important.
No, I'm excited to see that stream. I think that'll be a really interesting one to watch.
Definitely. So on that note, I think we've solved every problem.
World
out
hunger.
there. And I have to get ready because not to pitch too hard, but I've got a killer stream coming up. If you're interested in Alec Baldwin in that case at all.
Speaking of killers.
There you go. 5:30 today on America's Untold Stories.
Nice.
Couple emails are in there, and I think it's going to really, really surprise some people about what was going on. So I really, really hope everybody checks it out. Thank you, Talix. He put it in the chat. Anybody who's not there, please subscribe. The stream's already up. You can go to it, set a reminder, be ready. It is remarkable. And this is only the start. I have this and other things came in, and I'm developing those right now with Mark. So there's more to come. We probably might have a couple weeks of material here, like this week and next week. Things are starting to finally come to us in the background that are very, very, very interesting.
Oh, good.
Now, everybody else, LegalBytes.locals.com, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Let me try it again. LegalBytes.locals.com, since I mauled it the first time. And goodlogic.locals.com. Uncivil.locals.com. That guy up in the top right. He has a channel. And then
I finally did it. VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com.
There you go.
And I'll say that tomorrow I have Natalie Wisco will be on my channel again. So we're gonna be chit-chatting about some of the fun law stuff some of the stuff that we've been talking about today, and some of the stuff I talked about.
By the way,
previously.
her tweet was hilarious when she talked about listening to your show as a podcast on the way to jail, and I was like, "Oh, really? Are they transporting you?" The wording was very, very funny.
Oh, and I'll plug my. This is not a sidebar. This is just a side interview with Clifton Duncan, who on his Twitter feed identifies himself as an artist, dissident liberal, erstwhile New Yorker, smartass Jim Snob, Wildberry Skittle stand. Irreverence is my love language. We're doing an interview Tuesday night, so it will be. The funny thing is, the second he comes on the channel, he's no longer a liberal. He's going to be an extreme right winger. So we'll have to update his Twitter handle. But Clifton Duncan coming up on Tuesday.
Maybe he's a classical liberal.
My last one, unstructured.locals.com. So close to 500. Anybody who wants to step over that edge and be a monthly supporter, that will help immensely to getting us more opportunity, more email notifications, more storage space so I can put up ad-free live streams and things like that. So I hope you guys consider doing that. And until next time,
Indeed.
thank you.